What's going on YouTube? We are going to be watching the New York City Gang Wars map.
New York City subway lines are 5 boroughs, but you've probably never seen a map of New York City's gang war.
Bronx gotta have the most gangs, right?
This isn't the Bloods versus Crips or Gangster Disciples versus Black Disciples. New York City's gang war plays by a completely different set of rules.
They don't care.
Take Brooklyn, for example. In Brownsville, the neighborhood with the highest concentration of public housing projects in the country, rival gangs are packed into an area known as the 1 Square Mile War. Here, two massive overarching alliances, the Wu and Chu, are locked in a brutal war against each other. But the chaos doesn't stop there. Beneath those umbrellas are dozens of smaller sets and internal wars, all fighting over the same blocks. Meanwhile, in Queens, entire neighborhoods like Shadyville have been controlled by gangs made up of teenagers, some as young as 14, carrying out shootings in broad daylight. And in the
14 years old, murdering people. 14 years old and we're murdering people. These kids, they need to go read a book and go kick a soccer ball, gang. What are we talking about? What are we actually talking about?
Bronx, the war has become even more public, where drill rappers, Instagram lives, diss tracks, and federal indictments all feed into the same cycle of violence. From street crews in Brooklyn and the Bronx, to Dominican gangs in Washington Heights, Chinese street gangs in Chinatown, and even the 5 Italian mafia families still embedded across the city, our team spent hours mapping every gang down to the exact streets that they control. This is the New York City Gang War mapped. To understand one of the biggest rivalries in this war, we need to zoom into the 1 Square Mile War centered in the Brownsville neighborhood. As mentioned in the intro, Brownsville has the highest concentration of public housing projects in the country, and most of the gangs are based out of these projects. Most of the sets in this region are either under the Wu Alliance or the Chu Alliance, but these aren't single unified gangs with one leader calling every shot. The Chu's main sets are based in the Howard Houses, Tilden Houses, Marcus Garvey Village, the Riverdale Towers, and Newport Gardens, while the Wu main sets are based in the Seth Low Houses, Van Dyke Houses, Langston Hughes Houses, the Brownsville Houses, and the Noble Drew Ali Plaza. Chu members living in the Marcus Garvey Village and Tilden Houses means that by crossing one street, Dumont Avenue, they're entering into enemy territory.
That is
on April 22nd, 2023, Chu member Brian Ramos and 2 other of his gang brothers walked into the Van Dyke housing projects. They approached a playground where children were playing and then spotted some of the rival Woos across the park. They opened fire, unleashing multiple rounds
with the children
and then fled
in
the
the
scene.
park?
Thankfully, nobody was injured, but the message was clear. Even a children's playground in broad daylight could become part of the gang war. Then on August 1st, 2023, Wu member Deshaun Nimmons was walking with a group of his friends when they spotted a Chu member named Jeffrey Thomas inside a barbershop getting a haircut. This barbershop is called Champion Cuts and is in Wu territory at 557 Chester Street. Wu member Nimmons pulled a mask over his face, pulled out a gun, and fired into the barbershop, hoping to hit Jeffrey Thomas. Seconds later, Jeffrey emerged from the barbershop unhit and then returned fire.
So you're telling me these dudes
at the group. No Wu members were hit, but a 69-year-old innocent bystander was struck in the torso as he was taking out the trash. This shows.
Come on, gang, that's wild. Is that not wild? You can't even take out the trash? You can't even take out the trash, can't even get a haircut without worried about getting shot. That's crazy. That is wild to me, gang. I don't know. That's crazy.
The violence extends outside just the housing projects, where innocent bystanders are often caught in the crossfire. This Wu versus Chu rivalry features some of the biggest names in rap, too. Pop Smoke and Bobby Shmurda were both part of sets in the Wu Alliance, where Pop Smoke even titled one of his albums, Meet the Wu. Although in interviews, Pop Smoke would be sure to show that he's a loyal 092 gang member, a smaller set within the Wu Alliance.
I'm gonna ask you a question, I'm saying it ain't really hot or nothing like that, but yo, so like when niggas be saying Wu, they talk about y'all niggas.
They talk about the whole flow. Let me tell you something.
So they really got they really grouped up.
So that Wu shit, listen, I'm on too.
You are like
On our fucking
from the floors, you feel me?
Oh,
We
no,
right now, we in the owners right now, like
Shit.
in the
The
owners.
old nines?
While Pop Smoke was tragically killed in California, Bobby Shmurda's rise was cut short when he was sentenced
why
to 7 years
gotta
in
stop it.
prison.
We gotta stop
He was
this stuff.
sentenced to prison for his role in GS9, a Brooklyn street gang connected to the larger Wu Alliance. In addition to Bobby's GS9 set, most of these housing complexes represent a different set of the Woos and Chews. For example, in the Van Dyke projects, the set of the Wu Alliance here are the Brothers Over Everything, or BOE gang. And then just across from the Mother Gaston Boulevard in the Brownsville and Langston Hughes houses are the Only My Brothers, or OMB gang. As for the Chew Alliance
So
in the
they really
region,
just sit
the
across
people in
the
the
street from
Tilden
each other,
houses
just
are
doing
known as
nothing?
Jew, or Just on Her Own gang. The Chews in the Marcus Garvey Village go by Hood Stars, and the Chews in the Riverdale homes go by Newport. With all these different sets and projects in the 1
How do you
square
even
mile
keep
war, even Wu and Chew alliances fall apart where different sets will turn on each other. Very recently, on April 15th, 2026, 36 Wu and Chew members were arrested in a 188 count indictment that connects them to dozens of shootings across Brownsville.
Dozens?
You can see how young these gang members are. We're all
Let's see. 20, 17, 19, 23, 18, 19, 17, 18, 18, 16, 18, 21, 27, 20, 21, and 18. Nobody over 30 on this side. Nobody over 30. That is insane. 25, 20, 18, 18, 20, 19, 18, 19, 19. Another 16-year-old. 17, 17, 17, 18, and 16. So that's crazy. That's insane. 25 is the highest age on this side. We got two 16-year-olds as shooters and killers. That is wild. This is insane that this is the time that this has become. This is
36
wild.
arrested were between the ages
That's
of
insane.
16 to 27 years old. But
That's
the Woos and
insane.
Chews aren't the only ones
16
running
to
the streets of
27.
Brooklyn. South Brooklyn has its own gang war going on. Down near Sheepshead Bay, Brighton Beach, Coney Island, and Gravesend, some of the most dominant gangs are tied to the 59 Brims and Bloodhound Brims.
I really
These
didn't know
gangs
they
are
had
more
all these
spread out than
gangs
the
in
1
New York.
square mile war, but have also recently found themselves in a massive indictment.
These are just some of the alleged members of the 59 Brims
I didn't know
Bloodhound
gang war
Brims
was going
gang.
crazy like
14
this.
of them, including a 15-year-old, were charged with a
15?
129-count indictment on murder and weapons possession for violent crimes committed throughout the Sheepshead Bay and Coney Island neighborhoods in 2021 and 2022.
After a failed attempt to target a rival, leaked text messages show that one member was frustrated when nobody was killed. A 59 Brims member, Antone, was asking about how it was a bad drill, and the others responded because nobody was hit.
There's nobody
Other
hit.
members were seen saying things
What?
like, "Somebody's supposed to be in critical condition, gangsta. It was 4 of y'all, and we just gotta hit our targets. That's it. That's all, baby."
They treating this like a gang. They treating this like a game. They said this is all. They hitting targets. We just gotta hit our targets. Gang, these are moving people. These are people you have to hit. Yo, Rustbot, what's going on, gang? What's going
But
on?
Brooklyn is only one borough. Once you move
Rust
north
Bolt,
and
what's
east
going
into
on?
Queens, the gang war starts to look much different. In Queens, most of the violence spreads across Jamaica, South Jamaica, and Queens Village, where teenagers
Dang.
have turned ordinary neighborhoods into a battleground.
It's going good. That's
And
great.
speaking
That's
of a
great.
battleground, I feel like trying to manage a
love
small
that you
business
stopped in here.
today is a
Appreciate that
battle
you
in
stopped in here.
itself. Even for me trying to manage this YouTube channel,
Dealing with invoices, emails, accounting, a team, and
Anything
creating
you do
the
today,
actual
bro?
videos themselves,
you
everything
do
gets
today?
scattered across a
Sunday?
bunch of different apps. That's what our sponsor Odoo fixes. 35 or as in these you get access in a section of Queens and Shady. Give
I have
these
a
young
video.
teen Shadies. The
Yeah,
Ladyville
send it to
became
the
the
chat,
home
send it.
base for the bad co.
Or
One
join
of the
Discord
most
and send it
important
to the
areas
React
of the
channel.
Queens Gang War takes place in a section of Queens Village known as Shadyville. Shadyville became the home
Village.
base for the Bad Co Ballout Gang. This is a larger alliance made up mainly of 55 neighborhood Crips and self-made mock ballas. The leader of the Bad Co gang is a 21-year-old named Javon Adapoko. On the streets though, he goes by Shady and is the leader of Shadyville. Shady would distribute loaded firearms out of his Queens Village home and would supply these
Loaded
to younger gang
firearms out of
members,
his
often
house?
just 14 or 15 years old. He would give these young teenagers permission to go after their rivals in the area. And this is actually a common practice across Queens.
And they say the gang leader of the A-Train moving Crips was actually a 33-year-old man who started training teens as young as 14, training them how to pull the trigger and who to shoot.
Training a kid at 14 years old to... Yo, appreciate you for the follow. Appreciate you for the follow, Russ. But training a kid to shoot another person at 14 years old has to be the craziest thing I've ever heard. It's devious. As devious as fuck.
These young gang members named Sean Chang was nicknamed Broad Day for his success in carrying out shootings in broad daylight.
He let it,
but even Shady wasn't afraid to carry out the hits himself. In November 2022, class had just been dismissed at North Queens Community High School. 18-year-old Mark Green was waiting for the bus outside the school on Main Street and 77th Avenue. Shady and another Bad Co gang member traveled from Queens Village into Ravel territory looking for Mark Green. To the Bad Co gang, this wasn't just about going after another rival. It was a message that even outside of Shadyville and even outside of a school in broad daylight, the rivals weren't safe. As students were leaving for the day, Shady and other gang members opened fire. Students who had just walked out of class ran back into the school as shots rang out on the street. When EMS arrived, Mark Green was found face down on the pavement. He was taken to Jamaica. Fortunately, didn't survive.
He didn't survive.
But the fact that this happened outside of the North Queens Community High School made the situation even darker. North Queens isn't a normal high school. It's a transfer school designed for students who are already behind or already struggling. The school's graduation rate is just 54%. So for many of the teenagers walking out of the building, school is supposed to be the thing that kept them away from the violence. But that afternoon, violence followed them right to the front door. But Queens is still mostly a block-by-block war shaped by smaller crews and neighborhood beef. In the Bronx, the gang violence is much more coordinated, more public, and far more famous. The major gangs in the Bronx are the YGs, the DOA gang, the OGs, the Slattery gang, and the OYs, which are mostly based in Manhattan, but are still very much relevant to the Bronx gang war for a reason we'll dive into. Similar to Brooklyn, these gangs control much of the public housing complexes across the Bronx. If we start out with the YGs, this gang controls Mott Haven, Patterson, and the River Park Towers to the north. In the south, around Mott Haven and Patterson, much of the YG's beef is with the OG's gang nearby. The OGs are primarily located in the Melrose and Jackson housing projects. They often go by Cortlandt over everything for having significant control over Cortlandt Avenue. Much of the violence along Cortlandt Avenue today stems back from one night on April 16th.
I don't understand that. As a gang, why is it so important that you're controlling a block? Like, does that really make you tough that you control an area? Like, that's like it just don't sound. It sounds stupid to me. It's like, oh yeah, I own this part of the bar.
It's 2012. A large group of YGs were all drinking together in a bar. At a certain point, a debate broke out over which member puts in the most work for the gang. Nobody could agree who's the toughest member of the gang, so they decided to head into rival territory and find some ops or rivals.
What?
The YGs walked into the OG's territory in the Melrose houses.
Hold on, I gotta see this.
When the YGs got there, they spotted a 16-year-old OG's member, Noah Bala. The group of 20 YGs attacked the 16-year-old and began stomping on him until he was unconscious.
20?
Sadly, Noah was stomped to death that night right outside his own building. There wasn't a single gang member in the...
So you're telling me these dudes were like, hey, bro, I'm tougher than you. No, nigga, you're not tougher than me. I'm harder than you. I'm hard. I'm harder. Let's go test it. Let's go fight. Let's go beat up that 16-year-old. What?
Bronx, who didn't hear about Noah's death. After this brutal attack, the YGs suddenly had enemies all across the Bronx. One of their biggest rivals became DOA, a name that stands for Dead on Arrival, or also sometimes stands for Dumping on Anything. The feud between DOA and the YGs had already been building, but it exploded after the death of Tanky Bala. Tanky was connected to Third Side, one of the groups under the larger DOA umbrella. According to reports, he was out looking for rivals when he crossed paths with members of 800 YGs, a specific YG set. During that encounter, Tanky was shot and killed. And because he was one of the most well-known people connected to DOA, his death turned an already tense rivalry into a much larger war. A few years later in 2021, famous drill rapper K-Flock got in a heated public Instagram live argument with another drill rapper, Raw G's. K-Flock belonged to DOA, and Raw G's was part of the YGs.
You never did nothing to me. You never even, bro, that was my first time. Bro, you're a cat. You never did nothing to me, though. Really never did nothing to me. I really did shit to Dougie, though. What about my mother?
K-Flock became notorious for...
Why do you guys do this? Why do people, like, why do gang members go on IG live with their rivals? Like, why are you sitting on the internet talking? Why do you have your gang member or your rival's Instagram logo or Instagram handle? Why are you sitting there watching their live like you a fan, gang? Like I don't get that. That's so that is insane to me.
Going on Instagram live in rival gangs' territories.
Hey, what's up? They don't want to come out. Look how comfortable I am on this block.
Why would anybody want to do this though?
Niggas is pussy.
K-Flock would film himself driving around in YG's territory to show how comfortable and confident he was. But the crazy part is, nothing would ever happen to him.
He's walking around with a map.
saw this and then challenged K-Flock to come back.
Somebody tag K-Flock. Somebody tag K-Flock. Niggas not playing him. Come right back. Outside right now as we speak. You coming through hard and on live, blocking niggas off your lives so niggas can't see your shit. Like, what's up? Pop out. We outside here. Yo, K-Flock, pop out. Pop out right now. Right now as we speak. You wanna make shows? You wanna make shows too? Pop out.
K-Flock would then go back on Instagram live the next day and threaten his rivals even more.
How you EBK? Because anybody could get shot. What you talking about? You dumb or something?
You ain't saying.
Too much money to be acting like this, bro.
You ain't good. I ain't gonna lie. You're not good.
You should be trying to make it out the hood.
K-Flock began rapping in May of 2020. He quickly gained traction in the Bronx drill scene by releasing popular songs like Op Spotter and Brotherly Love before dropping his debut mixtape in 2021, the DOA tape. K-Flock became one of the most popular rappers the Bronx had ever seen, but unfortunately, his rise to fame wouldn't last much longer.
He got cooked.
On December 16th, 2021, K-Flock was walking down West 151st Street in Harlem with his sister and a friend. They spotted one of their rival ops in a barbershop. The op in this barbershop was an original youngin' or OY gang member named Oscar Hernandez. This section of Harlem that the barbershop was in OY territory and is more widely known as Sugar Hill. Oscar saw K-Flock was in his gang's territory and walked out of the barbershop to confront him. What happened next wasn't on security cam footage, but there was apparently a brief dispute, and then K-Flock pulled out a firearm and shot Oscar in the neck and back. K-Flock successfully fled the scene and was hiding back in the Bronx, but 7 days later, he turned himself in to the NYPD. K-Flock's defense team argued that—
Wait, K-Flock turned himself in? Yo, you ready? Give me till after this video. Give me till after this video. Yo, I did not know K-Flock turned himself in, bro. I didn't know. I thought K-Flock got caught. You tell me this dude, you killed somebody, and then you thought it was alright to. Here you go, take my hands. Stupid ass nigga. That's why you in jail.
K-Flock was acting in self-defense, and the jury ultimately agreed. Hernandez was also armed, and K-Flock was acquitted of the murder charge. But that didn't mean he was free to go home. Federal prosecutors had built a much larger case against him, accusing K-Flock of being a leader in the Southside and DOA gang under the RICO Act. Instead of focusing only on the Oscar Hernandez shooting, the feds argued that K-Flock was part of a much broader pattern of violence, including attempted murders in 2020 and 2021, and that his music helped fuel the gang's streak of violence. His defense beat the murder charge, but it could not beat the larger federal RICO case. In the end, K-Flock was sentenced to 30 years in federal prison, cutting short what had been one of the fastest rising careers in Bronx rap.
K-Flock got sentenced to 30 years in prison. Gang was on the path to stardom. To literally a stardom path. He could have probably been one of the hottest rappers. He was on like that Pop Smoke level, but he telling me he gave it up because he wanted to walk in on a RICO? Oh, this nigga, yo.
Back where K-Flock shot Oscar Hernandez, the Sugar Hill-based OY gang was outraged. The OYs dominate Sugar Hill, which spans from 151st Street to 159th Street, centered around Amsterdam Avenue and St. Nicholas Avenue.
So
through
really
rappers like Didi Osama, Sugar Hill D-Dot, and E-Dot Baby, Sugar Hill has become one of the most recognizable names in New York drill. But inside the OY gang, they haven't always been fully united. In 2021, Sugar Hill Keem, a high-ranking OY member and rapper, accused another Sugar Hill rapper named Blockwork for cooperating with the police. Keem claimed that Blockwork had worked with the officers to get himself released from jail while other members stayed locked up. Almost immediately, major OY figures like Didi Osama and Sugar Hill D-Dot sided with Keem. Blockwork denied the accusation through social media posts where he tried to clear his name. But by then, the split was already growing. Some parts of Sugar Hill became Team Keem, while other parts became Team Blockwork. OY members who supported Blockwork were harassed for standing with someone who others believed was a snitch. Eventually, Blockwork broke away from OY completely and released Switch Sides, a song built around his separation from the gang. Those who sided with Blockwork may have split off and went independent, but the vast majority of the OY gang was looking to grow much further. And in 2020, the largest gang alliance that the Bronx had ever seen started to form. The OGs began uniting with the OYs and the DOA gang to create an alliance called the O to the Sev. This alliance was formed to go after the YGs, the other large gang in the Bronx. Like a lot of the New York gang alliances, it was held together by music and mutual enemies. But also like many of the New York gang alliances, those connections can easily break apart. The O to the Sev alliance began to crumble due to internal tensions involving E-Dot Baby. E-Dot Baby was one of the leaders of the OIs. E-Dot Baby had been seen in a video smoking and associating with members of the opposition, specifically the YGs. K-Flock and the DOA gang took this as a major sign of disrespect and demanded that the OGs side with them and denounce E-Dot Baby. E-Dot Baby went to Instagram and posted that he never smoked with an op. The OGs believed E-Dot Baby and didn't want to split from the OIs, so the DOA gang left, leaving the OGs and the OIs in an alliance. This was a Manhattan and Bronx alliance that became the primary rival to K-Flock's DOA gang. The alliance was made even stronger after the tragic death of the OY member Nadia Osama. Nadia Osama was killed in July 2022 after a confrontation with a 15-year-old rival spilled into the 137th Street subway station in Harlem. Nadia and another person chased the rival gang member onto the platform. Nadia hit the rival in the head with a broomstick. The rival team then pulled out a knife and struck Nadia once in the abdomen. Nadia later died in the hospital.
A 15-year-old boy has been charged with killing another teen on a subway platform yesterday.
Nadia's death was mocked by rival gang members in a dance called the Nadi Bop. Teens would even get their unknowing teachers to participate in the dance.
I remember this.
Nadi bopping, punch in my head. Like, come here, gotta do it like this.
The OGs rallied behind the OIs during the Nadi Bop era. But although the OGs and the OIs attempted to maintain their secondary alliance, the pressure of high-profile deaths, musical egos, and even some RICO indictments eventually shattered the alliance. Today, the OGs have retreated to their Cortlandt Avenue strongholds. While the OGs, YGs, and the DOA gang have become the most recognizable names in Bronx drill, another gang is gaining its own violent reputation further north. Around Slattery Playground on East 183rd Street, the Slattery Gang became one of the most feared crews in the area. And what made them especially unique is that their leader was an 18-year-old girl. Nay Benz, a drill rapper from the 183rd Street area, stepped up as the shot caller for the Slattery Gang.
Nay Benz, police!
We letting a dyke call shots now? Why do I know it's 2026, but we letting dykes call the shots of the gangs now? I don't know about that one, chat. I don't know about that one.
Say you're a trigger puller. Police say you're a trigger puller. Is that true? What? Police say you're a trigger puller. Is that?
Yo, what? This is reckless.
In August 2024, Nate Benz, along with 19 other Slattery gang members, were hit with a massive 176-count indictment. The long indictment included charges related to attempted murder, first-degree robbery, and carjacking, as well as criminal possession of a weapon. Prosecutors used Nate Benz's drill music and social media posts as evidence for the charges. But not every gang in New York operates like the drill crews.
Yo, that is hilarious.
Some are much
Stop
older, more
IG
organized, and built around a more solid structure. A perfect example of this are the extremely powerful Dominican gangs in New York like the Trinitarios. The Trinitarios were founded in the late 1980s and are based in the Dominican neighborhoods like Washington Heights and the West Bronx. Unlike the drill gangs we've talked about, the Trinitarios operate with a much more formal hierarchy. At the top are their leaders, often referred to as first chairs. Beneath them are the second chairs, and then at the bottom are the soldiers who carry out the orders on the streets. This structure makes the gang harder to crack because taking down one local crew doesn't necessarily destroy the larger network behind it. But like the drill gangs, the Trinitarios are also divided into many different sets that don't always get along with each other. One of the most famous examples of this exploded in 2018 in the Belmont section of the Bronx. That night, 15-year-old Lisandro Jr. Guzman Feliz was being chased through the streets by members of the Los Suertes set of the Trinitarios. They believed Jr. was connected to a rival set, but they actually had the wrong person. Jr. wasn't part of any gang at all. Jr. ran into a bodega near East 183rd Street and Bathgate Avenue trying to escape. But the group dragged him back outside where he was attacked with knives and a machete. He managed to stumble towards the hospital only a block away, but he collapsed before he could make it.
The brutal murder of an innocent Bronx teen finally coming to a close nearly 5 years later.
The last of the gang members found responsible for the death of 15-year-old Lisandro Jr. Guzman Feliz were sentenced today.
The Trinitarios do have outside rivals, but in New York, most of their violence comes from internal splits. Some of these notorious Trinitario sets in Washington Heights include 7700, Los Malo Corita, and the Own Every Dollar or OED set to the north. Different sets can operate almost like separate gangs, and when those sets turn on each other, the violence can become just as brutal as the war with an outside rival. But even mapping the drill gangs across Brooklyn, Queens, the Bronx, and Manhattan, as well as the Trinitarios, there's still one criminal network in New York that sits in a category of its own. That criminal network is the New York City Mafia. To understand how the 5 Italian mafia families still operate today, watch my full breakdown on Inside the New York City Mafia in 20.
He got me. That was a good video though.